Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach, and I'm in San Diego, California. And Kelly, your brother did it again. Hits
It's
record
a
as we're
fine
in the
line.
process.
It's a fine line because I do this trick where I turn on the recording when you don't expect it, and I have to do it in a way that is not mean. And sometimes the line is very, very fuzzy.
So we're in conversation, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden I hear the Zoom lady go, "The the episode is now recording," or how does it go? The session is now recording. I'm like, "Wah!"
The amazing thing to me is just that I've done it so many times, and you're surprised every single time.
Because I'm in the moment having an experience of
Yes, it's
conversation.
great. It's literally like that thing in the Peanuts cartoon where Lucy has the football. I'm like, oh, she falls for it every time. All right. Well, we want to thank you so much for listening or watching or both. However, you're joining us today, we do want to let you know that we often mention Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks on this podcast. If you're not familiar with those names, Esther is a speaker and author who channels Abraham. Abraham is described as a group of entities from beyond our physical world who share their wisdom by speaking through Esther at workshops and speaking opportunities around the world. You can find out more about them online by searching for Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks here on YouTube if you're watching us here, or on your web browser. You can also go to their website, abraham-hicks.com. Each week we start our discussion from a different jumping off point, and this week we possibly have two jumping off points. We're going to do one maybe, then pivot to the other. They're probably going to blend and be the same
Well,
thing anyway. But
yeah, I know they could be too, right? I
but in
think they're
last week's episode, which is clearly a different episode because you can see how we're dressed completely differently in this episode than last week's episode. But in last week's episode, we were talking about dating, which is a topic that I brought up because I felt like we should actually come clean with our listeners and viewers and talk about what we, single people who want to attract a partner into our lives, are actually doing with the art of allowing to work with the law of attraction in order to bring a partner into our lives. And towards the very end of the episode, you had a suggestion of a tapping exercise for me, which I agreed to try, but we were out of time. So we agreed that we would
so
start this week's episode with that. So you asked me, I just want to recap. So you asked me what was the predominant negative thought that I have when I think about, because I said, like, what have I been doing lately? And I said, for the last few weeks, I think I've been unintentionally sitting in resistance around it. And
right.
you asked me, what's the predominant thought I'm having? And
Yeah.
I think it's something like, it's too hard to uh, attract someone who's compatible.
So would it be even though I believe, because we always start our EFT emotional freedom technique with a opening statement.
See, this is what I don't like about tapping is like I feel like it's a negative affirmation, which goes against everything we talk about
No,
here.
no, no, no. Because this is the thing about, so those of you who don't know about EFT emotional, we tap on the meridian points of the Chinese meridian. And that's where our nerve endings are. So and there's a lot of stuff you can find out there, information on it. It's effective. And so we need to because they're there, right? We've talked about this before. It's not that we're going to be happy, joy all the time. Those emotions are in us. That's why we say, like, express yourself, your anger in a healthy way. Let those negative emotions out. We need to express them. And so what I love about tapping is I get to say, like I always tell clients, act as if you're talking to one of your girlfriends and say whatever is on your mind, whatever you're feeling, just let it spew. So the opening statement, so it always begins with even though, and then you fill it in. It's usually just one sentence. So it could be like, even though I don't believe that I can find a compatible partner. And then you always end it with, I completely love and accept myself. And you want to just make a sentence that kind of really explains like how you're feeling or thinking.
I did amend it just slightly because I realized originally the thought was it's too hard to attract someone who's compatible. I amended it to say it's too hard to attract someone who's compatible and local because I'm great at attracting compatible people who live very far away from me.
Okay, that's great.
Which is
Okay,
one of
good.
my frustrations.
Okay. So now think about that thought, that feeling, think about it and rate it on a scale between 1 to 10. 1 being like you have hardly any emotion about it at all. 10 being like it's so upsetting.
Sorry, I'm writing here. So let me read it to you, make sure I have it
Okay.
in alignment with what you're talking about. So
Okay.
even though I believe it's too hard to attract a partner who is local and compatible, I totally love and accept myself.
I completely love and accept myself.
Completely. Okay. All right.
Okay, now give it a rating between 1 and 10.
Really quick, can you just explain, and maybe you just did, but this is my hang up with tapping.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I'm confirming that I believe this, which I feel like I don't really believe it. This is just something that my brain is,
Well, you do believe it. Because it's a thought that you keep having over
You
and
said that
over
with
again.
exactly this. I love that because you said that with the exact same tone of voice and intonation that Joe Vitale says in the film The Secret about the love attraction. Where he's like, I know you don't want me telling you that you attracted the car accident, but I'm here to tell you you did
You
attract the
did.
car accident. I'm like, well, I don't want to affirm this thing because I don't believe it. And you're like, but you do believe it.
And that's the
So
beautiful
fair.
thing.
It's fair.
That's the beautiful thing that I personally love about Tammy, because it gets real as
Uh-huh.
fuck. It's
Yeah,
like, this is really what's going on,
it's
because this
true.
is what we're talking about. This is
It's
the
true.
resistance, right? It's like
Yeah.
you were saying in last week's episode, it's the underlying belief thoughts
Yeah.
that are there, that are going, that are repetitive,
And
that,
that's generating the energy and the vibration, which is, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you
Yes.
have hardly any emotion, 10, it's like off the tilt. What is it?
And we're talking like how bad does it feel, right? Or just how
Yeah, yeah,
intense it is.
yes, intense. There you
I
go.
mean, it's an 8 bad.
Okay, so
Yeah.
write down below your opening statement, write the number 8
Actually, a
off to the
9.
left-hand side.
I'll
Okay,
give it a 9.
whichever. Give it a 9. Okay. And this is really important, everyone, to do this whole process this way. Now what you're going to do, and we're just going to do one round because I really do want to talk about what Sarah had asked, that one of the 2
Mhm.
topics. So on your karate chop, you're going to gently tap either way, because you're going to do both. And you say your opening statement. So even though
Oh, sorry.
you're
Trying to
going to do
pull
it
the
3
camera out,
times.
probably. Oh, I need to put this in a better spot. Hold on. So I can read it. Okay. Even though I believe it's too hard to attract a partner who is local and compatible, I completely love and accept myself.
Now go to your other karate chop area and tap.
Even though I believe it's too hard to attract a partner who is local and compatible, I completely love and accept myself.
Now go back to the other one and say it again.
Even though I believe it's too hard to attract a partner who is local and compatible, I completely love and accept myself.
Great. Now what you're going to do is you're going to, so we always do it 3 times, back and
Okay.
forth. And then you just start, you tap on the top of your head gently and just start talking about how you really feel. Like if you're talking to your bestie and you just like spewing it all the negative thoughts,
I'm talking to
everything. Okay. So,
my
so
bestie.
tell like,
One of my besties.
yeah, like I keep meeting these women, but fuck, they're like living somewhere else. Like, what the hell? Why can't I meet someone who's living? And so we're gonna guide you. So then, let's go to the mid in between your eyebrows and just start
You
talking.
can keep talking because everything you're saying is what's in my brain. You're doing great.
But I want
It's
you
like you have a
to,
direct link.
so, so, okay, so now in between your eyebrows and start talking.
And I just
Say,
say like what's like
yeah, how you really feel. Like
I'm super frustrated because I
okay,
feel like I'm a really good person.
okay,
Like
now on the outer part of your eyelid.
I have a lot to offer and it feels like I continually don't meet the right person.
Under your lip, I mean, under your nose.
And part of that is because I need to get out of the house more and be more social.
And on your chin.
Frustrating because I've gotten into habits in the COVID era where I just don't go out a lot, and it feels very challenging to get out.
And then on your chest. And now talk about like the women. Like, I don't meet, like, what the fuck? Why
Yeah,
can't I meet
I'm not
someone that I'm
meeting. Yeah, I'm not meeting. I'm not meeting a lot of new people in general. When I meet women, they tend to be not the right match for me for any one
back
of
on the top of the head,
many reasons, and it's frustrating. Um,
in between
like
your
I'll meet
eyebrows?
somebody I connect with, but they're in a relationship, or they're not. They're different, widely different age from me, or we have some sort of interest incompatibility that's really strong from the jump, or they
Okay.
live very far away from Los Angeles.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a round. Okay, so let's pause for a second. So then we do a couple of rounds and you just really get into it. Like, man, what the fuck? Like,
I'm
I'm
into it.
tired of being single. Like,
Yeah,
I
I am
really
really
want to
tired of
meet
being single.
someone. Like, why can't I meet someone? What the hell? Where is
Yeah,
she? Like, I've been single for a while. Like, I've had really good relationships, but they always ended, dramatically. And I really like, where is she? Like, what the, how am I gonna meet this? I'm tired. Like, I really want to be with someone. Why am I not? Sick and tired of this shit. So, okay, so you do a round or two of
yeah.
that, and then you take a deep breath and exhale out. And then read your opening statement, get into the feeling of it, and then gauge it and give it a rating between 1 and 10.
Even though I believe it's too hard to attract a partner who is local and compatible, I completely love and accept myself. I give it a rating again.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's probably a 7 or 8.
Okay, so write down the number that feels comfortable for you. So
I think
scratch out the one you
7 or 8.
wrote down,
Okay.
put a line through it, and then write your new number.
Okay.
So then literally I do like multiple rounds. The whole point of this is to get down to a 0. If you can't
Mm-hmm.
get to a 0, get to a 1. Sometimes I'll do a round and my number will go up and I'll be like, what the heck? But then I keep at it and it goes down and then eventually keeps going down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you just keep checking in. And the cool thing about this is I love it because it so works in the conjunction with Abraham and the art of
I was gonna say, is
attraction.
what we're really doing here is softening our vibration. We're
Yes,
just getting to
we're lessening the
softening the
we're
resistance,
softening the resistance, and that is
increasing the
why I
vibration.
love tapping so much. And sometimes I'll find as I'm going through it, I'll be like, oh, you know what? It's not that anymore. It's this. And I'll come up with a new opening statement. Or like when I did it, when I was sharing in last week's episode, I discovered like, oh yeah, I do this thing where I'll see someone, oh my God, he's cute, but and I'm like, that's
Yeah,
resistance, but he's too tall or he's whatever, not something. And I'm like, that is resistance.
yeah.
And so that was something that I uncovered through tapping as I
I think
was
that's
going around.
the thing that brings up for me, and it's not. I'm not saying because it's not true that we have to get into some perfect place of
Not at
like
all.
believing you're going to meet the right person, immediately or whatever. But I do feel like I think we all know people who are just like super confident in themselves. Genuinely, it's not an act. It's like they love themselves. They just have confidence, and like they expect if they have a relationship that ends, they expect to go through whatever grieving period they need to go through, and then they just expect to meet somebody right away,
I
and they do, and
know.
they
Isn't
do,
that cool?
and it's like those of us who are not like that or
Yeah,
look at
right.
those people and
Are
like,
the
what is this,
opposite.
what is
Are
your
the,
secret,
they're
like
the
how do you
opposite.
do it?
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is like I think, and it ties really well into the topic that Sarah
That's what I
suggested.
was just thinking right now too.
Yeah,
This is perfect.
which is how does self-acceptance and self-love, how does that relate to what we talk about in terms of learning and practicing the art of allowing and working with the law of attraction in that way? And I think that's the thing, is like if we have beliefs, which a lot of us do, about I'm not worthy. I don't know,
Mhm.
I'm not deserving, or I'm just a bad person, or I'm a
I'm
good
not
person
good
deep down, but
enough.
I'm not attractive because of XYZ.
Mhm.
I'm too shy. I don't look the right way. I'm not interesting enough, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, that those become resistance, which delays your
yeah.
attracting of a partner, among
Right,
other
right,
things. I mean,
right.
it could delay a lot of things because it's lowering your vibration, and when you have a lower vibration, you're delaying more stuff, you know.
Right.
Um, and so I
It,
think that it is somewhat a separate issue, that it's really good to do whatever you can to nurture yourself and grow your beliefs about how wonderful and amazing you are, because every human being on this earth is an amazing, unique, special, precious person. um, I'm always amazed when I meet somebody and I get to know them. Sometimes it's appropriate for me to tell them like how amazing they are, and they are shocked to hear the words I use. And they're
yeah,
always like, "Why do you feel so special about me?" And like in the back of my mind, I'm always like, every person on this earth. I mean, not that you're not special, but everybody's
yeah,
special.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like you get that from being born. Like you don't have to
yeah.
earn it. You don't have to get some award or some level of income or some partner of a certain level of attraction.
Mhm.
Like every person on this earth is inherently worthy of amazing things and can allow them in if they only understand either intuitively or, you know, more
Well, a-
literally how to do it.
and I think we can also use the tapping
Hmm.
to work through some of those things. It's
Yeah.
like, you know what, even though, what would it be? Even though I don't believe I'm good enough to meet someone
Hmm.
that would love me or whatever it may be, and then tapping through that stuff, like what is it? What are those deep-seated feelings and thoughts that I have about myself,
Yeah.
and tap through those so that we can get to this neutral place
Hmm.
and soften those old beliefs that are not true.
Hmm.
Just because it's a belief doesn't mean it's true.
I feel like the other thing about this is I feel like allowing in a partner is one of the places where, if you don't have self-love and you don't have, and by the way, I sort of hate talking about it like that, like it's a static thing, because the way I think about it now, I don't know if I'm correct, but this is just how I've come to understand it, is there is kind of a core of self-love within me, and it's gotten better over time. But it's also like there's this kind of layer on top of like how I'm feeling today, and that can fluctuate. I can feel really great about myself one day and then feel really lousy about myself the other day.
Yeah,
Now, that
yeah.
doesn't affect the core of what I've built,
Hmm.
but it does
It
sort of look
fluctuate.
like, it
Yeah.
almost looks like it's just whipping in the wind sometimes. So I don't mean to say it like it's just like a static thing that never changes, but I think you the more I've worked on myself, I mean, I know today, like if I was to go on a like a date from somebody I met on an online dating site today, I can remember me going on online dating dates 10 years ago where I was nervous, anxious, feeling very insecure, not loving myself and whatever. And I know that if I go on a date today, I may not be, Mr. Super confident and loving myself, but I'm way, way more than I did, 10 years ago. And so I think dating really is a place where if you are insecure, you don't feel confident, or you feel self hatred instead of self love, it's like where it hurts the most, because
Mhm.
you can feel that, I don't know, there's just something about going on a date when you hate yourself.
Oh
It
goodness,
reflects
yeah,
it back to you like in a
yeah.
more
Well, and it will attract someone
powerful way.
who isn't going to treat us very good.
Well,
Uh,
that's the other aspect. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, it
yeah.
attracts people that aren't going to be right for us, but
So it,
you can be in self-hatred and watch TV and kind of like not be aware of it. But if
yeah,
you date and you're experiencing self-hatred, like
yeah.
you will be
Yeah.
aware of like the negative aspects of that coming flying at you.
So read Sarah's topic again about where does self-love and
How self-acceptance fits into the art of allowing and the law of attraction.
well, I
I
think
mean, I think there's an interesting thing about that specific topic, which is if you increase your self-love and self-acceptance, that will automatically help you work the art of allowing more. But you also don't have to work on your self-love to use the law of attraction.
Right. And it'd be great to have her here to give us a little more information about that,
Yeah.
because there's so many different ways that we could look at this. One, I was thinking like, well, if I'm feeling kind and loving towards myself, if I feel good about myself, then I'm going to attract things that feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm if I'm loathing myself, if I, am feeling badly about myself, if I'm, don't feel like I'm lovable or good enough, then I'm going to attract things that show that.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Or here's the other weird possibility
mhm,
is if you don't have self-acceptance, it is actually possible for you to allow in a loving partner, but then you won't be able to accept them. Like if they shower you with genuine love,
yeah,
if you don't love yourself, you're
it's
more
like
likely to
this.
like, yeah,
This,
reject it,
yeah, yeah.
because what's going to be more comfortable for you is a partner who's critical, negative, also, like filled with loathing or whatever.
That reminds me, oh my God, you just triggered a memory. There was a friend that I had years ago who we had done a little trading of services with each other, and she was getting into the law of attraction and everything in Abraham, and she was telling me about a time years prior to that where she had attracted this boyfriend, and he was super spiritual and into law of attraction, and she didn't know anything about it then, and they were just on two different wavelengths. And even though he was amazing, she couldn't take in all that he had to offer because she wasn't in that space of being able to take in his love and his higher thoughts and vibrations. And so they eventually broke up. Um,
One of my ex-partners in the last 10 years, that was definitely our story, was that, and I don't mean that I was some sort of like superior Zen master, above her or whatever, but it just was, I just happened to have like more self-acceptance and self-love than I
mhm,
think she had for herself. And so I was
yeah,
kind of like loving pretty freely and openly. And she
mhm,
liked it in the beginning, and then a few months into it, it seemed like it was becoming really uncomfortable for her. And when I would do an act of kindness, she would react against it and be argumentative and critical. And it was really confusing to me at the time because I'm like, this
yeah,
is like, I'm not being some weird obsessive overbearing person. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
being free
yeah.
flowing and loving. And this person is like getting irritated by it. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, if your vibration doesn't match, then you can't handle, you can only handle as much good stuff as your vibration allows. So if somebody comes at you with more good stuff than you can handle, you'll reject it.
And it reminds me of, I always want to call the book of the upper limits, but it's not. Is it called The Big Leap? I just recommended it to a
That sounds
friend.
correct.
Yeah. And they talk about how when we get into, he talks about, we all have a set point.
Yeah.
And when in our life, whether it be relationships or work or money or our living space or whatever, we go above that set point,
Hmm.
then we
Yeah.
sabotage
Yeah.
because and so that was, she had enough love for herself at some point to attract in a
Yeah.
boyfriend who was loving and kind, but then she got
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It was above her set point,
Yeah.
and so she sabotaged it. And
And to take full responsibility, my vibration wasn't high enough to attract someone who could love me back in the same
yeah,
exact way. Like
yeah,
something
yeah,
was glitchy with my vibration
yeah,
too.
yeah. And so noticing those things, and when I was reading the book earlier this year, I some of them I couldn't relate to because he was referring to clients who were super high end, like, executives and just like high end clients. And I couldn't relate to some of their issues. But when he talked about the sabotaging of worry, I
Hmm.
was like, what? Because I actually had experience where I had something really wonderful happen. And then I had gotten to this set point that was higher than what I was comfortable with, and I started worrying about someone I care about.
Hmm.
And I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, oh my God, that's my upper limit. I
Hmm.
started worrying about this thing to like sabotage this other good thing that was going on.
My first life coach, who I worked with long before you, had this thing that was similar. I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes, but it's something about like imagining like an air conditioner set to a particular temperature. And if you set the, I'm gonna mess this up, I feel like, but it's something like if you've set your air conditioning to 68 degrees, and then I'm gonna mess this up.
Well, so the uncomfortable part would be if it went below 68, then it's too cold. And so you would want to go back.
Time where I'm like not prepping for the podcast.
Where I would want it to go back to the 68 because it just
I've completely messed this up. Many apologies for that. But yes, it's something about the fact that the air conditioning, if you set it at a certain temperature, no matter what you do to the environment, it's going to try to take it back to that temperature. So there's times where we get our life hotter, basically. But if our air conditioner is set to 68, we are going to have some practice to get the air conditioner up to like 76.
Our thermostat,
once we get the AC up to 76, then we can have it stay 76. But if we get our life up to 76, but our internal AC is set to 68, we will just almost unconsciously sabotage ourselves to try to get us back down to 68 because that's where we're comfortable.
Yeah.
So I did eventually remember that with your help. Thank you.
And it's all a practice. We're all in progress. And I love to say perfectly imperfect. And it is a process, Sarah. And so, whatever it may be, if it's that we're needing to practice more self-love, what would that look like? For me, it's like, I realized like I wasn't watching my reels. And so I wasn't laughing. And so last night being at the comedy show, I'm like, when was the last time I was laughing? I'm like, I set my alarm for the reel. I haven't been paying attention to it. Like, yeah, laughing feels so good to me. And I feel like it is a self-care thing and it helps me feel better. And that, helps me practice self-love.
I'm currently obsessed with Instagram Reels, and it's probably not entirely healthy because I'm probably spending too much time on it. But
do they make you feel good?
Partly because, yes, absolutely. Partly because of you talking about how you just give yourself permission to watch some and laugh to yourself. And like for a long time, I think I had a thing about like not laughing out loud when I was alone.
Oh, okay.
And I've worked on that over the last few years, and I really will let myself now watch a video and really laugh out loud. And it helps so much because
laughing is the best.
Natural,
yeah,
and it raises
feels
my vibration.
Good. It releases endorphins. Like it's just, oh my God. Yeah.
So, all right.
And Sarah, if we didn't cover it the way we didn't cover everything you wanted,
she can demand a second episode.
Please leave a reply and give us a little more detail so that we can cover it better for you if we didn't nail it this time.
Yes. All right.
And we'd love to hear from everyone else. What do you want to hear us talk about?
Yes, we have. Oh, and we have another idea from Sarah that we also are going to do down the road. I need to do a little bit of prep for that, but we're going to do another one too. So yes, for those of you other folks who are watching and listening, please do what Sarah did. Either leave a comment on one of our YouTube videos, like this one, if you're watching it, or you can. I think writing to us on Instagram is probably the best way at this point.
Oh, that's where a lot of our listeners, like, pretty much Angelique, Kelly,
both
Sarah.
our Instagrams are on the description of every YouTube video. So even if you don't watch it on YouTube, you can just find one episode on YouTube, find our Instagrams, and write to us. And we would love to talk about something that you want us to talk about.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you got something great out of it. Remember, at this time in early 2024, we're posting a brand new episode every single Monday morning for you. We truly appreciate you doing anything that your platform allows you to do to support the podcast and let other people know about it. And also, we now have a Patreon, which is a service where you can sign up to donate a little bit of money to us every month. The link for that is down in the YouTube description below, down in the doodly-doo, as we say. We wish you a happy and abundant week, and we look forward to you joining us again on the next episode of Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Bye.